JALILUM Amith Tambanmouche. Welcome to a very, very special edition of Bramble as we tackle the episode Tears Like Rain, the JALILUM episode, or as others say, JOLILUM, produced in celebration of the holiday, the first tear. For those who are unfamiliar with the term and the holiday, the first tear refers to the invention and advent of water. As the story goes, when Deora, the grand creatrix, was in the heavens and she heard her morning star singing for the first time, the song was so ineffable and beautiful, so soul-fulfilling. Deora wept for the first time, and that first drop, that first tear, became aqueous. Well, there is not much to tell in this episode, but what there is absolutely something that goes straight to the heart. We begin, as always, with Viola. Viola must face what she's become. She's given her life to the ring and the Weald to serve as their healer, not by choice, as you recall. She was appointed to the job, and it's a job one cannot refuse and must take for life. No one knows how long that life will be if Prince Raffia gets his way. But she rues the way her life is going. She has no friends of which to speak at this point. She works constantly. She recently helped that fawn witch and now lives in fear of what that witch will become now that she's back to her human shape with her powers. And Viola goes to the lake to look at the moon as one does, and she cries her own first tears over her situation. Interestingly, Calla Lily shows up, going to the lake, seeking solace, seeking answers for her situation. She has quit her job as an empath, and it was the first job she ever had, and the first time she felt of use instead of a burden, and felt that she was helping her family, giving her family a good name. But as we know, what she did, getting the lock of hair from Raffia's cousin Carter that was courting Calla Lily, that was, again, done for the family. But she does sorely miss the good she was doing as an empath and finds her way to the lake and cries tears of her own and is consoled by her sister Viola, ever the healer. Slate. What can one say about Slate? He and Magnolia run into one another at the water. Magnolia is thinking about her recent decisions. As we know, she's volunteered to help Mayor Hollow at the Grand Mayor's Ball. Certainly viewers have no reason to believe her assertion that it was done in a volunteer capacity to try to become a good fae. And after running into Slate, she runs off, crying her tears, as always the case on the celebration of the first tear. And Slate, for his part, wonders if he would be better off with Magnolia. She understands him. He has gotten away from his wife, Dahlia the Dalliance, and her mother, Lena, with whom Slate is still enamored, despite the fact both women are now living with him, have instructed him to cast out Brooke, his lifelong friend, and have instructed Slate to get a job. Slate runs into his sisters, Calla Lily and Viola, at the lake, and they have a quiet moment together. Citron does some soul-searching. Hard to believe, but true, as we see Citron, as we witness Citron grow up before our eyes on the show. Following her for nearly 2 millennia, finally seeing her grow up, I believe the time is right. She has always had a boyfriend. She's very popular, very witty, charismatic, physically appealing, has a wonderful aura, a compelling aura, an irresistible aura. And as we know, Jeffrin, the elf, is dating her. And for the first time, she questions, does she really want a boyfriend? And, more important, what is she without one? For those who have heard the snoring going on near me, our producer, Molly, was up all night after this episode crying and is now sound asleep in the control booth, sawing the logs, so to speak. Well, as you know, in our last episode, Nanny Nettlebottom was left at the bottom of a ravine, having tumbled down in her efforts to evade being seen by Dod Hoskins, the human who came to Milliam's home to both Milliam and Nanny now that they are married. His assertion that the Fae were real, his assertion based on the fact that he saw the party that welcomed Dahlia and Lena to the ring, the party none of the viewers have yet seen. In trying to evade Dod, avoid his notice, Nanny fell and tumbled into the ravine, was unconscious last time we saw her. That was in episode 15922, A Slippery Slope. Well, Nanny has found her way to the lake where her darling grandchildren are, and instantly Viola heals her, as Viola is capable of doing. And so the family is once again together, as they've not been all of last season, because the only place they would have ostensibly been together would have been at Dahlia's party. Stock, Birdsong, Viola's oldest friend, who's been in love with her all his life, is on the other side of the lake, crying his own tears. Viola really was the only one. His infatuation with Rosie Katy Diddleleaf, nothing more. A passing fancy, a whim, and he does face the fact that it's only been Viola. Stock decides to swear off love and considers moving out of the area altogether. What's more, Brooke going for a walk on the edge of the lake, the drops of the leaves of the trees reminding him of his own tears, thinks he may very well go with Stock. There's nothing left from here now that Slate, his best friend, has thrown him over for a woman, Dahlia, for whom Slate has no feelings. Meanwhile, our mayor, doing some soul-searching of his own, considers giving up the mayorhood. And we know that Milliam, last we saw him, was busy with Dod, and throughout this scene he does not get to go have his quiet night that most try to enjoy on the night of the first tier, which is generally in dim Q terms held on August 30th, so you still have time for your own celebrations. Milliam is busy at the homestead still, trying to throw Dod off the scent and get Dod to give up his quest to find evidence of the Fae altogether. Raffia, who's always claimed to be a purist, who doesn't approve of relations between the Fae and any other species. He does not approve of Citron and Geoffrey the Elf. He certainly does not approve of Nanny Nettlebottom helping a human motorist, we know, and saving the motorist's life, that being Dod Hoskins. We know that has been the impetus for Raffia wanting to throw the Brambles out of the ring altogether. And yet, this purist, Prince Raffia, during his own night of soul-searching on the night of the first tier, which he elects to spend in a grand bath somewhere private, his first love was a naiad, a freshwater nymph. Yes, you heard that correctly. His first love was not a fae. Purist that he is, his first love was a naiad who died. And when she died, that is when he became bitter and a purist, believing that it was their relationship that killed her, in so much as it was never meant to be, that fae needed to only be with fae, and naiads with naiads. It's heartbreaking, really. Just as the episode begins to wind down, we see Mayor Hollow walking around the ring, its protector, reevaluating whether or not he should remain mayor and run again against Raffia, who has substantially better hair. A sylph comes to the mayor's side and relates all of the good deeds he has done, and he is routinely mocked and ridiculed for the sloth with which his work progresses. But the sylph says, regardless, at the end of the day, at the end of the JALILUM, you have made a difference, you have helped your people, you have helped the ring. And he gives Mayor Hollow the inspiration and confidence to keep calm and to bramble on. That wraps up our JALILUM episode of Tears Like Rain, the episode that commemorates the first tier. As always, we have no sponsors or callers during these special episodes. We do invite you to return next Plulum. That will be episode 15923, Stiffer Upper Lips. Until then, all, Ceriste som.